Welcome back to the program. So, first and foremost, I was contemplating dropping a different show today, but there's so much good news out there that I just had to get back in the studio and do an actual new show. So, I'm going to give you guys a little treat. I'm going to drop in the morning because Substack allows me to be able to put a certain time that something can drop. Probably around 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to drop my Wayne Allen Root interview that I did earlier today. So completely different topic, of course, than what we're going to talk about today. So I have a real problem with the fact that the Episcopalian Church, in particular, has a real hard-on for these Afrikaners, these white South Africans that are being murdered, being raped, having their property taken from them. There is an absolute genocide going on in South Africa. The African Continental Congress has basically this tyrant leader, and they have been confiscating, farmland from white South Africans, and it's pretty sick. It's pretty disgusting. But what's even more disgusting is the NGOs, in particular, the Episcopal Church, has decided that they don't want white South African people, the ones that don't have any gang affiliations, don't have any tattoos, aren't raping and murdering people. No, they're actually escaping real genocide. Not like the MS-13, Tren de Agua, and the rest of these idiots that are being flooded into the country, or were being flooded into the country, that are killing American citizens. See, the left wants them in. Why? Well, because more than likely, they would be new Democrat voters, as I've said before. And if they kill a couple of people or rape a couple of women, so what? It's collateral damage. That's how the left sees it. But now President Trump has figured out a way to actually get the left to be against migrants. But they're white migrants, so that's the problem. You can bring in any Muslim, Chinese, Mexican, Colombian, El Salvadorian, Venezuelan, bring them all in, Haitians that eat pets, bring them all in. But don't you dare bring white South Africans that are actually really facing genocide and persecution. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. So the Episcopal Church ends their refugee partnership program with the United States government. Good. I'm glad. You know why? Because the people that you support and we're dragging into our country were people that we're now trying to deport anyway. So in that case, I don't care. But I mean, the gall, the hypocrisy of the left running around and saying that somehow it's racist to bring in these white South Africans. Unbelievable. So I'm glad that this NGO is no longer going to work with refugee resettlement with the U.S. government. You know what? They never should have been working with them, ever. So that's what I have to say about that. Now, let's move on. Let's talk about some really good news. Remember Judge Hannah Dugan, the one that liked to take gang members and slide them out the back door to avoid ICE deportation? Guess what? Not only was she arrested, thankfully, but guess what? Today, Wisconsin grand jury indicted her. That's right. Bye-bye, lady. You're going to jail. Federal grand jury indicts Milwaukee Judge Hannah Dugan for obstructing ICE arrest. Last month, Judge Hannah Dugan was charged with 2 felonies. However, the charges in the grand jury indictment were not immediately clear. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported a federal grand jury indicted Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan on May 13th after a day-long hearing on charges that she tried to assist an undocumented immigrant escape arrest from her courtroom last month. Oh, she did. That's not alleged. She did. Dugan, 66, was previously charged with obstruction, a U.S. agency, and concealing an individual to prevent an arrest. The 2 charges carry a maximum penalty of 6 years in prison and a $350,000 fine. And then it says the grand jury indictment, Dugan is expected to enter a plea May 15th, so in 2 days from now. The indictment came after a string of witnesses entered the federal courthouse throughout the day on May 13th to testify before the grand jury. Last month, Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested. We know about that. According to the FBI, Judge Hannah Dugan obstructed an immigration arrest operation last month. So we'll see what happens. If she's being indicted, I don't know why they're sealing the indictment right now. That's usually not a good sign. They need to unseal that, and hopefully we'll know in the next couple of days. I'll keep an eye on it. She's charged with 2 felonies. Oh, no, here it is. She's charged with 2 felonies for obstructing ICE arrest last week. So that's what the indictment should be based on. So 2, 6 and 6, 12. In reality, what is she going to do? If we're lucky, a year, 6 months. It's a judge. You really think they're going to pop her away for, 20 years? I don't think so. I doubt it. I mean, I'd love to be wrong on that. I'd like to see her go away for a long time just to set precedent to other judges not to do this. But she probably doesn't have a criminal record. She's a judge. She's going to cry. They're going to do, impact statements, yada, yada, yada. So I don't know. I don't think she's going to go away for a long time, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, she was indicted today. Here we go. The Justice Department. Oh, this is great. So we know about the President Auto Pen, right? The Auto Pen Gate scandal, which basically means that all those pardons at the very end of Biden's fake administration were signed by Auto Pen, right? So we have the Oversight Project has come out. They have analyzed it, handwriting analysis, all these different things, forensic. They know that this is garbage. This is terrible. They lied, and they were so specific. We'll go back 14 years, for everything you ever did. Even if you had a parking ticket or you were jaywalking, we'll clear that away too. So all of this that has happened obviously piqued the interest of the Oversight Project. God bless them for doing some good work there. And they figured out that none of these pardons are legitimate. None of them are. And what's interesting is Tom Tillis, who, by the way, has got to go. We've got to line up against, I would vote for a ham sandwich or Mickey Mouse in North Carolina before Tom Tillis. He has got to go. 100% has to be target number 1 and make sure that we run a MAGA patriot against him in North Carolina, which I'm sure there's going to be plenty of that are going to step up to do that. But as I was saying here, this is a situation where Tillis didn't want Ed Martin to be the D.C. district attorney, right? The head attorney. So he said, I'm not going to give you the vote. So it failed in committee by 1 vote. And instead, Trump did kind of what I said to do, which was to put him at the Southern District of New York and take the guy from the Southern District of New York and put him in D.C. But what Trump did, honestly, is even better than what I suggested, because he put Ed Martin at the Department of Justice and he put Judge Jeanine Pirro in his place, which I think is even more of a bulldog, okay? So putting all that together, what jobs specifically does Ed Martin have at the Department of Justice? Well, number 1, we know he's the weaponization czar, right? But he also has another title. And guess what that is? Pardoning attorney. So what does that mean? That means that now they are absolutely opening up a criminal investigation into Auto Pen Gate, okay? 100% it's going to be opened up. Justice Department is now criminally probing Biden's last-minute Auto Pen pardons. I'm going to let you hear from Ed Martin himself. Check it out.
We've never seen pardons of the scope, and it looks at least like something that you could be corrupt. When Bill Clinton pardoned Mark Rich, and turns out that Mark Rich had paid a boatload of money to one of Clinton's friends, lawyers, that's not corrupt, it's not criminal, because the plenary power of the pardon. But in the case of Joe Biden and his pardons, they were so specific, back 14 years, covering everything you've ever done. And when I say specific, they were broad, but they had time stuff on them. It was very, and that least leads to questions, because the plenary power is true, but the question is what was going on here, and I did get responses from some of them, and those things are ongoing.
Those things are ongoing, meaning that now he is in the position to pursue criminal investigation into AutoPenGate, because he is considered a incoming pardon attorney and weaponization czar, Ed Martin. So thank you once again, Mr. Tillis. Next. First federal judge says that President Trump can invoke the Aliens Enemies Act to deport these TDA Venezuelan gang members. Wow, isn't that amazing? I've been saying it all along that it was legal for him to do it. He could have even done it by declaring war, but it looks like now he's got a green light to do this. Now, this is only in Pennsylvania. There's been others around the country, including, sadly, other Trump judges, that have said that he can't do it. Texas was one. I think California was another. And so there was a bunch of others. But let me just go through this real quick, and I'll tell you a strategy to get around all of them. Ready? Federal judge in Pennsylvania on Tuesday became the first judge to say that President Trump can invoke the Alien Enemies Act to deport Tren de Agua gang members. U.S. District Judge Stephanie Haynes, a Trump appointee, said President Trump's description of the Venezuelan gang incursion into the United States means that they meet the legal threshold to invoke the Aliens Enemies Act. Quote, having done its job, the court now leaves it to the political branches of the government and ultimately to the people who elect those individuals to decide whether the laws and those executing those laws continue to reflect their will, the judge wrote. The judge said in her 43-page ruling that the Trump administration must provide detainees subject to removal under the Alien Enemies Act a 21-day notice and opportunity to be heard. The notice must be in English and Spanish, and if needed, Spanish to English. Interpreters shall be provided for any necessary hearings. So this means that Boasberg is no longer, right? This also means that there was two other judges. Fernando Rodriguez, another Trump appointee, actually ruled against the Alien Enemies Act, and he was in Texas? I think he's in Texas. Then there was a Clinton judge, David Briones, a Clinton appointee, also said that you can't do that as well. And he was in Colorado. And then, of course, there was one in San Francisco. So you have California, Colorado, and Texas. So how do we get around those judges? Well, I think it's pretty simple. How about we take all of these TDA members and put them in Pennsylvania? Make sure that they're in the district of the judge that said that he could use the Alien Enemies Act, transport them from wherever they're located in the United States right into Pennsylvania, directly into his district, and from there, plane rides out. Get out and don't ever come back. So there is a way to get around all those other injunctions as long as you remove all these Tren de Aguas and put them in Pennsylvania where it's legal, in that district, in that jurisdiction, and from there you fly them the hell out of the country. Problem solved. You're welcome, America. Okay. This is really cool. I'm actually going to make this a second video as far as, the main video, but I'm going to put a second video underneath it. Kind of like what I did with the cocaine possibly on the train thing. Apparently, there is a President Trump of Poland. Okay, that's right. I can't pronounce his name. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. But apparently, he is a presidential candidate that is running for president. He set the European Union flag on fire. Okay? He set it on fire, and he said, down with Euro communism. So the video, which again I'll put into the thing, He basically comes in, he grabs the European flag, he removes it from the pole, he takes it, he crumples it up, throws it on the ground, steps on it, then he walks it outside, and while he's doing this, he's saying something in Polish. I don't know what the hell he's saying, but he's saying whatever he's saying. And then he goes outside, pours lighter fluid on it, and torches it. That's right. There is a Trump of Poland. There is a Polish Trump that needs to be elected. Okay? I don't know when the elections are or anything like that, but it's pretty cool. Eurocrats were thrown into an uproar last week after Polish presidential candidate and European Parliament member Grzegorz Braun, the last name is Braun, so that one's an easy one to pronounce. The first name, forget it. Known for his provocative theatrical stunts, set fire to the European Union's flag, condemning what he called European ideological occupation of Poland by a globalist elite. Braun, a Polish ultra-nationalist known for his bombastic style and unapologetic, unfiltered rhetoric, carried out the act at the historic Wujek coal mine in Katowice, a symbolic site tied to Poland's anti-communist resistance. First, he stormed into the Ministry of Industry, tore down the EU flag, wiped his shoes on it, and then burned it outside the building. So I'll make sure and put the video for this in the show as well. But look, today was a very interesting day. It was a very successful day for President Trump. He went over to Saudi Arabia, and they showed him the most incredible amount of respect. I mean, the Saudis are either watching Trump rallies all the time, or somehow someone told them to do it, because he walked in, not only it was red carpet, but actually it was lavender carpet, which matched his tie, because lavender was a sign of peace, I think they said, or something. I don't know. Anyway, so he walks in this extravagant entrance. I mean, just unbelievable. And then he's inside, and they're playing Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. You mean, no other president in history would get this type of respect and treatment. It was unbelievable. Then, of course, he gave a speech, and he talked about how he wants to make sure that the Middle East is about technology and not terrorists. It's about commerce and not chaos. And then he even took a dig at George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, many others, George H. Walker Bush. He talked about nation building. He talked about how it's failed, and these wars that, we were part of in other countries around the Middle East and everything else. It was a really interesting speech, because what he's basically saying is he understands that nation building is not okay. We should not be the policemen of the world. Do we have to keep an eye on our enemies? Yes, of course we do. But we don't have to impart, Americanism, if you will, into all these countries. Stay out of it. And if we stay out of it, as long as they're not building nuclear weapons or trying to kill Americans, let them do what they're doing in their own countries. And that was kind of the gist of his entire speech. But he also laid down the law. And he said, if anyone attacks the United States or comes after our allies, we will have no mercy for them. So it was definitely balls out, giant wheelbarrows for his nuts, walking around. And they showed him a ton of respect. So pretty interesting stuff. So anyway, those are all my thoughts. Can't wait to hear all of yours. Put them down in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless.